Hi everybody, I'm Skaji.
And I'm Stevie.
And I'm Magna.
And this is yet another Tnt video podcast thing.
The video cast. We just talked about this last month.
This is our November edition, and we're coming to you right here from Books, Beans, and Candles in Birmingham, Alabama. We won't be having a Tnt in December because Krampus will be in town on December the 6th.
December the 6th.
From 10 a.m. till 6 o'clock. You can find more information about that on the social medias and the website. But our usual third Friday night, Sips and Stars at 6 p.m., an in-person interactive astrology event. And on the fourth Monday of each month, we will have our Magic City Pagans, which is a different discussion topic each month, and that's also at 6 o'clock. And I think that's about all. I mean, anything else?
No,
Did I miss anything?
I think
That seems like everything. Yeah.
Okay. So for November, and this is an interesting thing because depending on how you calculate the Wheel of the Year, all right, Samhain is not necessarily on the 31st of October.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I think, on the 6th of November this year. I may be off a day or two.
It usually fluctuates, but yeah, you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
So for our November addition to this, Stevie suggested the Death card. Why did you pick the Death card?
Because I'm a shitty Scorpio, and that's the card associated with Scorpio. Also because it's November. So, wow.
And one thing right out of the gate, and y'all can share your opinions. I think this card gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
Because it says
absolutely.
death, and there's all the skulls and things like that. But it is not representative of physical death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to, when this shows up in a reading, we have to be careful how we convey the message of the change.
Yeah.
That is not to say that change isn't going to suck.
Sure.
Right.
And feel like death,
Right.
and grief, and loss. But we have to be careful how we talk about this card with clients.
It does have a lot of like baggage to it. In the continuing theme of being a shitty Scorpio, I have a tattoo on my leg of the Death card for my first tarot deck that I ever like properly read with and like connected with. And so it's always really funny when people ask what it is because they're like, "Oh no, are you afraid it's gonna curse you?" And it's like, "Nah, dog, it's just a card." Like it has a lot of weight to it and it has a lot of heaviness to it and sometimes grief, but it's such a transformational card too. And I think that like all cards have kind of like the duality to them or multiplicity to them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And Death's is just very particular and it's very poignant in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a very multifaceted card.
I say, and a lot of times for me, like, yes, it has a lot of weight to it. But it always feels more of like a positive aspect to death, the transitions of life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it was reversed, now we're going to the tower.
Yeah. There's very much a thing of like, no one, loves like heaviness or grief or whatever.
Yeah.
And the Death card always has like this like ripping off a band-aid sort of change to it sometimes where like, it's going to be like the impact and then whatever happens afterwards kind of happens or whatever. But like that moment of impact can be a little bit rough sometimes.
Well, no one likes change.
No one likes change. Even when it's good change, there's still so much fluctuation. There's so much like baggage and like stressors at least that can come with that. I'm like, oh, I got a new job, but then like there's a new like breadth of responsibility and a new shifting of everything, and it's just like a lot of that fluctuation. I think throws a lot of like ratchets in people's gears. So
And speaking of ratchets, there are no ratchets on this card.
Yeah, there is not.
This is the traditional, what I call a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith card, and there's so much here. We're not going to dig into all of it, but some of the most poignant things
It's a very gritty card too.
It is very gritty. I mean, we got a dead king dude, and then we got this bishop looking guy, and then we got these just, common folks here. That's that great equalizer, level playing field kind of vibe. But the other thing is that if we think about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, as portrayed in the book of Revelations, death rides the pale horse, often interpreted as the white horse.
Yep.
And that, I think that's some of the inspiration behind this card here. But we have this rose kind of thing going on, which also has to do with that transformational aspect, the purity, and the innocence and the transformation that can come from that. And these two towers show up on a lot of cards, and it's that path leading to that eventual enlightenment.
Right.
This one, Magna, is out of your deck.
Yeah, so this is the death card from the Fyodor Pavlov tarot deck. And just like last month when we discussed the Hermit as like the witch going out on a journey after doing a whole bunch of studying, this also has the connotation of that same witch who's now kind of doing some shadow work out in the forest, skyclad, censor mark. And so, but it's that moment of not just change in general, but acceptance of that change as she embraces death for what's next to come in her life.
And also, I really love this interpretation, because I have this deck too, of the eroticization of death a little bit, because there so many different sources, both historical and media and all that good stuff, where there is an inextricable tie between death and the erotic. There's so much media. Please just go look it up. But the inherent sexuality of that is really important. You even have like people refer to climaxes as the little death, and how that begins to change and how that begins to put us into a different state. And so I really like that Fyodor Pavlov makes that connection. Plus, it's just like a really well framed like depiction of it.
Well, and like so many cards in this deck too. I'm gonna get off topic for a second. There's only a few cards where like pieces of the image go past the border. Yes. So I really like that this is one of those cards where it does that. It's jumping out at you.
Well, because change and death itself is unconstrained.
Yeah.
You can't box it in. You can't wall it off. And so this one here, Stevie, is out of
the slow holodeck. And I like the interpretation of, you still have the rose, you have the skull, of like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This one in particular really has that emphasis on the rot being a source of manifestation for new things and for that transformational aspect. It also has, I believe, a cicada on the forehead too, so it literally has that coming out of the earth to kind of birth new life.
To scream.
Also to scream, yeah. We do have the existential horror of death with the screaming, so that's cool. But there is kind of like that return to the earth, return to from whence you came, and that memento mori aspect as well, that I think is really cool. And I like the stark contrast of like the very white bone skull with the really bright red rose. And I think it inhibits, because in some cultures white refers to death as well, which is always a context I have with the original one. And here I like that the rose is still there to tie it into the Rider-Waite-Smith, but you have that red as passion and as life and as kind of the exuberance of it as well. It's weirdly celebratory and weirdly life-centered, while not shying away from like the death element either.
And we have the death card here from the Hush Tarot, and moving on. So we have this eagle, and it's a specific species of eagle that's mentioned in the book, but I don't remember what it is. But again, with the skull, and what we might ask ourselves looking at this: did this eagle, take this person out and put them in the nest to feed the young, or is this just, hey kids, look at this cool thing I found at the Dollar Tree?
If I remember right, I think that's because I have this deck too. I haven't looked at it in a while though. This particular species of like eagle or falcon or
Vulture,
raptor bird of some kind actually eats the eggs. Like it is a predatory thing that goes to the nest of other animals and like eats them. And so it has like that very like Reaper element to it, which is kind of cool.
Okay, and but this brings in many spiritual traditions, the soul, the human spirit, is given flight. It's associated with birds, and so it has that, especially in that interpretation. This thing shows up, and it brings, death.
Yep.
But it is also the spirit that flies.
Yes.
And so there is a cyclic nature going on there. And the Hush Tarot has a lot of really interesting interpretations on the cards.
It does, yeah.
And speaking of interesting interpretations, we have the Urban Tarot by Robin Scott. It's a Crowley style deck, and in this we have there's a lot going on, but we have two ways of looking at this. One is, okay, when we're sick, there is, we either get better or we don't.
Yeah.
And so you've got those two sides of that transformative kind of thing. And it's got a sort of, death is faceless.
Something very eerie about that doctor with the circle on his face.
And the clock here, let's see, I can't remember exactly.
Doesn't have any hands.
Doesn't have any hands, and then there's spiders on the wall, and so there's a lot of stuff going on here, but it is very much about that sort of transformative aspect of things.
I also just realized that a patient's chest cavity is just open. I don't like it.
It can be very unnerving. What's also unnerving is more skulls.
More skulls.
This is from the Wildwood Tarot, and they call it the Journey. And so we have the raven, crow, corvidae kind of bird there hanging out, sort of eating the flesh, and it has that sort of, we get recycled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a part of that transformative stuff, and with the full moon going on in the background, that very much has that psyche or spiritual side.
Right.
That's sort of the sort of hidden kind of aspect.
And it's something that I like about like the kind of more naturey themed ones, where you do have that connection to, yes, this is the end, but also there is kind of something that organically you can see being kind of fed into the next card, or the next kind of cycle of life, or however you want to frame it. But there is that next of kind of presumed to be there, which is always really nice. So nice no touch.
And you've got a spread for us, or well, I have a spread for us. We're going to use your deck,
Yes.
right? Okay. Now that
Which means I get to lay it out and you get to explain it.
Woo woo.
Whoop, whoop. So this little spread it's going to look just like the one we did last month, but it has different position meanings, and it's based on the elements. So we've got, and it has 5 cards. Not everyone, deals with the element of spirit the same way. In this case, that center card is the element of spirit and represents us. That's the significator is us. And then around we have air, earth, fire, and water. Now I'm going to describe this in the way that I correspond the elements to directions.
Okay.
It doesn't matter which way you do it. You can do it in a traditional way. This is just the way that I've always done it. It is non-standard, as am I.
Okay.
All right, so earth, fire, water, air.
Okay.
Right? Like I said, you can, if you use a traditional way, you line them up your way. Right? This is just the way I look at it. With the 2 of vessels as the significator, the spirit in this case, it really has that sort of shared, emotional connection kind of thing. I often see the Two of Vessels as being a very integrative
Yeah.
kind of card, whether we're connecting with another person or we're connecting with ourselves, because sometimes we get disconnected even from our own self.
Yeah.
So it has a very integrated kind of vibe. But in this deck, while it has that sort of same flow, there is a little bit of dissonance.
There's kind of that dissonance, yeah. And I like that the vessels are outpouring and then intermingling with each other. Because, like a Rider Waite Smith, they're exchanging the
they're
the cups.
trading. Yeah.
Whereas here, it's more of we're not giving anything up like in a direct sense. There's kind of that outpouring, and now we have to like mingle through these waters a little bit. And it's one of those like photo collaborative cards too, which is kind of fun. So it has that thing of like neither person quite either knowing who they are or having to like sort through the facades that they put up. And that's where the intermingling comes through, is through almost words or actions or kind of these things that we selectively choose to put out a little bit. And the things that we show, which is, I think, a little, not strange for the cups, but I think sometimes the cups can be so filtered through the lens of, like, the touchy-feeliness of it. Whereas this one feels, especially with it being red, a little bit more action-y. We are taking this choice and we are running with it, which I like about this particular interpretation.
And with our Earth, we have the 9 of branches. I'm assuming that's wands in this deck. And it is a reversed card. So with the 9 of branches, and there's apparently lots of sticks
Some mushrooms.
and some, is that shelf fungus?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So
A polypore.
and so what we've so it does have that very earthy kind of vibe, but with that fire element in there, it almost has that feeling of I don't know how many folks have regularly go camping or have gone camping, but one of the things you're supposed to do is to make sure that your campfire is put out. I mean, cold,
Smothered.
out.
Yes.
And you can either do that with water, or you can throw dirt on it until it's out. And so in the earth element, in the physical aspect of our lives or our daily mundane life, this could be saying, hey, we need to rekindle, we need to bring some fire in, some action, or mushroom stew.
Mushrooms. With the 9 of branches reversed, it kind of has that thing too of like, yes, there are trials and there are tribulations, but like, girl, is it that deep? Having to really acknowledge that, yes, there are challenges, but is it that extreme? Is it that overwhelming? Or is it just kind of like, this sucks, and then you kind of like kick something. And then you break your own toe because you kick something too hard. But some of it can be a little bit self-inflicted, or some of it can be like circumstantial, that's not that deep, circumstantial, that kind of thing.
I say this is something that's no longer serving you. This is nothing that's beneficial. So why do you keep getting up and fighting it?
Let it rot.
Let it rot. Let it go.
One thing for death.
Yeah.
Yay.
And so with the 3 of vessels, and in the way that I do this is the fire quarter. So we have the 3, and again with the red on the cups. But with the 3 of vessels, that's often a very emotionally uplifting.
Yes.
The kinds of things we do that do give us an emotional boost, whether that's hanging out with our friends. I don't do anything, so that's all I do.
With this being like the fire too, and coming off of that, girl, it's not that deep, with that 9 of branches, I think it's also getting out of your head a little bit and finding the people you can do stuff with, or at least people who motivate that creative element or that passionate element, the spiritual elements, something. You gotta do something besides bitch about a broken toe that you made broken. And allowing yourself to expand on that a little bit in ways that, with that 2 of vessels, the 2 of vessels is a great card, we love her, but can be very intense sometimes because it is so much of that emotional outpouring. And the 3 of vessels can be deep and it can be meaningful, it can be intense too, but I think at least like on the nose of it, it is uplifting and fun, and go drink with your friends or whatever, like find more flippant, lighthearted stuff to do.
I say, because it's the fire position and it's the 3 of vessels, I'm like, oh yes, let's enjoy this whiskey together.
Yeah, like
but like we've let things kind of rot and everything, and I love that the hands are like coming out of the water, so it has that rebirth element. I immediately thought of like the waters of the womb as we are rebirthed and made anew after dealing with all of that from the 9 of branches in reverse.
And I like the transition of like where you had all these emotions outpouring. It kind of almost feels like they're coming from the same emotions, but just like less overwhelming. Like more, we can sip it instead of drowning in it. You know?
Well, and you know, it's like picking up heavy things is always easier with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have the 7 of Knives in the water element,
Mm-hmm.
and again we have that almost reversed sort of Damocles
Yeah.
thing going on. Instead of we're hanging over.
The sword instead of it hanging over you.
Right.
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Yeah.
So we may be allowing our thoughts or our perceptions to overwhelm us emotionally.
Mhm.
So we have lots of watery things happening coming around this way. So maybe we need to not quite think so hard about it.
Yeah.
It has, because of where we are on the journey so far, we've gone through this rebirth with the 3 of Vessels. The 7 of Knives and the water element has the connotation to me of like, hey, making sure that we're holding steadfast to what we've learned on this journey so far. Backsliding is something that's going to happen to us all, but just not letting go enough to where we fall back into our bad habits, our ways of thinking. Keep fast, keep strong, hold on to those emotions.
And also too with like the 2 and 3 of Vessels kind of cementing so hard and like that desire and that need and that focus on like the positive and that intimacy of the emotional like realm of things. To have the 7 of Knives specifically in the water element is just like, I want the close intimate stuff, but you can't know my secrets. And you like holding back things that are very important or like kind of pivotal to what you need to be emotionally supported in the important ways, but then you're like, that's a little secret because it's embarrassing or because it makes you feel vulnerable or because it's spooky,
Yeah.
And you can't really fulfill those things if you don't chill the hell out.
And speaking of vulnerability, in many cases when we see nudity in the tarot, it is symbolic of being vulnerable.
Yep. Here's all my soft bits.
So in the air quarter, we have the moon. So we have this very watery, deep spiritually stuff in the air side of things. And
Girl, just talk about it.
that's a bunch of snakes.
They're cottonmouths, yeah.
Why does it always have to be snakes?
Because they're cottonmouths specifically because they blend in real well. You
And-
don't really tend to see one until you're up on it.
And this being Southern artists, we got cottonmouth.
We do.
And
And the death lilies and a blood moon, as well as the black and white signifying the yin and yang.
so there's lots of different things, and of course the moon, we think of the dark moon and the full moon. There's always a full moon and always a dark moon, depending on where you are in relation to that celestial object.
Yeah.
When we're seeing a full moon, if we were on the other side, it'd be a dark moon. So it's very much that two-sided coin, that very much yin and yang kind of give and take of light and dark. But in the air side of this, it almost has that feeling of, it's not irrationality, but it very much has the rationality of emotion, which we don't often hook those two words up together.
Right.
But our emotions do have a source, and they do have a cause, and they do have a reason behind them.
Yeah.
It's just hard to see. And that's that moon getting down into those aspects.
Having to either deal with or confront or put your hands on whatever, these things that we view as intimidating or poisonous or, the things that can hide in the depths of our soul or of our mind or whatever you put stock in, and then having to, I think, allow that to either kind of subsume you or be in control of it or do whatever you're going to have to do, and especially with the snakes especially like in alchemy and a lot of like your kind of more esoteric practices, is very much that symbol of transformation, that symbol of rebirth in some cases, that symbol of like infinity, again, depending on where you're shaking it out. You also have the connotation with Hecate as well, which I believe, don't quote me, I believe this artist like leans into. So that's fun too.
Well, and in many cultures, the snake, or at least in some cultures, snakes in general, and even some of the venomous snakes, are seen as healers. There are some Native American cultures who see the rattlesnake as a symbol of healing. So we have that healing aspect that could be a part of that, even as creepy as snakes can be.
Yeah. I don't know about y'all, but whether it's a full moon or a dark moon, I'm not running through the forest all willy-nilly. I'm going to let my eyes adjust to the darkness. I'm going to be cautious, listen to all those little whispers and noises.
The whispers.
Whispers.
If I didn't listen to the whispers in the dark, nobody would talk to me.
So on that note,
Thank you so much for joining us for this November edition of the Tnt Tarot video podcast thing.
The video cast.
Videocast.
The video cast. I love that so much.
Podia. So, again, join us in December, not for Tnt Tarot, but for a visit from Krampus. And you can find more information about all of our events on the shop's website, bookbeancandle.com, and through the social medias. Thanks again. My name is Skaji.
I'm Stevie.
And I'm Magna.
Safe journeys.
Bye.